Patton. I am ERYT yoga instructor, and I'm also a co-founder of Traveling Yogis International with my partner Martha Garrett. We offer international yoga retreats. Today I wanted just to offer a practice of toning and yoga. With that, I'm going to incorporate styles of yoga that I've used in the training I've had over the last 20 years. Also, some moves that might feel very familiar for Pilates. They're a great partnership together. In our practice today, we're just going to need a few props. I have blankets, a bolster, and a couple of blocks. If you don't have a bolster, no worries. You can fold a couple of blankets and use that instead. We are going to take a moment to center our bodies, bringing ourselves into this moment, not worrying about anything that happened prior to this practice or that's going to come later in our day. So taking a moment to be here now. I'll ask that you take a comfortable seat. I am elevated on blankets, which helps me create a length to my spine and also relaxing the hips down towards the earth as I release my shoulders. I'll invite you to do that as well. So sitting nice and tall, have a pattern of the legs that feels accessible for you this afternoon. Draw your shoulders up, roll them back, release your shoulder blades down the back body. Taking a moment to center ourselves. You may cast your eyes down softly. If it feels available, you can close your eyes. Feel grounded towards the earth and anything from the hips down. And from that rooted energy, lift your spine. Feel at ease in the front body, making sure we're not creating any undue tension. Softening the facial muscles. And feeling a connection to your breath. Breathing in through the nose. Exhaling the same way. Just pause here for a few more breaths coming into our practice. And then guide your hands into Anjali Mudra, which is prayer position. Let each finger find its mate in front of your heart center. Pause here to set an intention for your practice, just a personal thought for you. Taking a breath in. And with your exhalation, gently bow your head to store your intention in your heart. Releasing your hands, opening your eyes if they're closed, and lifting your gaze up. We will start in a seated position. I'll bring myself down to one blanket. I'll ask that you bring your legs out in front of you, and your feet are going to be about hip space, maybe a little tad wider. From here, guide your hands behind you, whatever pattern suits the wrist. So your hands may be rotated slightly outward. You can be up on your fingers if that feels available as well. From here, step your feet in a little closer towards your bottom. Try to maintain a nice tall spine. Take a breath in, and with your exhalation, let your legs drop over to the left as a partnership. On the in-breath, bring them back to center. And with your next exhalation, heading over to the right. Inhale, lift. Exhale, dropping the legs off to the side. Continuing on with the movement and the connection of your breath. Just kind of tuning into what's available in your body at this point of practice. As we work with the rotation side to side, we'll feel inner rotation of one hip and external rotation of the opposite hip. I'll do that a few more rounds here. And that's the fork, the creaking, not my bones. Awesome. And then coming back to center, crossing the shins if that feels available. Take your fingers off to the side so we're creating these nice tall guide wires with the spine. On the in-breath, guide the arms up by the ears. As you exhale, take a twist to your left, placing your right hand to your left leg, left hand behind you for support. Inhale, lift the arms in the spine. As you exhale, heading over to the right. Inhale, lift. Draw the torso up out of the pelvis, lengthen up to the fingertips. On the exhalation, taking your twist. Inhale, lift. Exhale, head to the opposite side. We'll do that a few more rounds. Always connecting with the breath, moving at the pace that suits your body. Modifying if you need. And taking the arms up over its head is not available, just take the arms to the side for a nice stretch. And then back to center. Bring your shoulders up, roll them back a few times. Wonderful. We'll be heading down to the mat for this next bit, and this will need our blocks for the next practice. So I'll take my blanket out of the way. what we'll do is have 2 blocks, and I will show the setting for you. One of the blocks will be on its flattest surface, running the width of the mat. I'll place that here on the floor, and I'll take my feet to either side of the short edges of the block. The secondary block will actually be running this way, lengthwise. The shortest edge is going to face the trunk of my body. So as I show, you'll just take a watch here. I'll come down to my back body, and I'll take the block between my thighs. The short edge gets facing towards the trunk of my body. The secondary block between my feet. I'm making sure that I don't have anything beneath my head because we will be bringing our pelvis away from the floor, and we want to keep the cervical spine nice and safe. If you do need head support, please just make a flat blanket, no more than that. The arms will rest down by the hips, and we'll take a second to release the feet towards the mat. So in yoga, we call that Pada energy, P-A-D-A. So pressing the big toe mound, baby toe mound, inner outer heel of each foot to the mat. And then we'll invite Hasta energy, the energy of our hands. So pressing the finger mounds to the mat, fingers nice and wide. Taking care that I'm in the center back of my skull, and if I apply a little bit of pressure there, then it will awaken these muscles of the neck to keep me nice and stable. As we press to the feet, Pada energy, Hasta energy with the hands, squeeze the block with the thighs, and lift yourself up into bridge pose. As you do this, the block helps facilitate a good parallel alignment with our thighs, and we'll feel the energy of having to hold that block in place as we lengthen the knees forward. Take a big breath in here, and during the exhalation, sequentially bring your spine back to the mat. So I'm going to let my upper back come down, my mid-spine, lower back and pelvis touch back to the floor. And when I come back to the floor, feel the full connection of grounded energy. Reactivate Pada energy, Hasta energy, center of the skull gently pressing to the mat with the in-breath, lifting up into bridge pose. Feel the expression of stretch across the front of your thighs. Hands grounding to the mat, feet grounding, a big breath here. During the exhalation, slowly bringing yourself back down to the floor. Let's do that again. Press to the feet, press to the hands, center back of the skull to the mat on the in-breath, lifting it up. Feeling your stretch here, maintain the power of these strong legs holding you in your bridge pose. The energy shifting to the top of your shoulders. A breath in, and as you exhale, feel that descent, trying to segment it down through your spine until everything touches back to the mat. Once your pelvis is down, you're safe to go ahead and take your block away. Throughout the practice, you may have noted I didn't turn my head to look at you. Anytime the pelvis is above the neck spine, as I mentioned earlier, I just want to keep everything nice and safe. But now we're safe to go ahead and turn the head if we need. I'll move the secondary block out of the way and come on up to set up for our next spot. So for this, we'll need a few things. You'll have your bolster. It will run the length of your mat, and you'll have the shortest edge facing towards you. I'll set that here so you can see. And for padding, I'm going to take a blanket for the knees. And I just have it in this fold we call shoulder stand fold. So once in place with my blanket and my bolster, we're going to take ourselves into puppy pose. Puppy pose is a lovely stretch. It's between moving into child's pose and also feeling the activation of the upper body that we feel in dog pose, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So in puppy pose, you'll come into a tabletop position, guide your knees back a bit behind your hips, bring your hands forward, and if you note, I have my hands aligned alongside the bolster here. In puppy pose, the tops of the feet are pressing actively to the floor. The hips start their journey back, but I'm not going to take my bottom all the way back into child's. I'm actually going to stop before that, allow the head to rest to the bolster. I'm lightly touching my forehead to the bolster. And if you notice, my arms are active here, so I'm not dropping the arms down to the floor. I'm actually resisting the forearms away from the mat as the hips draw gently back. In puppy pose, feel the length of the spine, feel a good stretch here. A few more breaths, please. And to exit, bring your hands underneath your shoulders and come on up. We can go ahead and slip the bolster off to the side. Then go ahead and invite a deeper stretch of child's pose. So in that, take your knees a little bit wider apart. Your feet may come closer towards each other. And then take yourself back into a nice stretch here. If your head doesn't touch to the floor, you can bring your bolster back into the equation, or you can simply stack your hands. Allowing the pelvis to feel nice and heavy. Feel the space between the knees so the torso has room to live. And then if you would, join me in tabletop pose. So in table pose, our goal is to have our hands directly beneath the shoulders, spread your fingers wide, have the knees at hip space, and this time we're going to allow the toes to tuck under. Taking a breath in, push the earth away, round your spine. That is cat pose. On the in-breath, lift the head, roll the sit bones up for cow. So taking the spine in two different directions. Exhale, round. Inhale to open. Again, please, exhale, rounding. And on the in-breath, coming into the back bend. And then back to center. You just may want to take a little break on your wrist, so bringing your bottom back. You can do this little reverse pendulum, which is a sweet way. Another option is to simply give your wrist a little tug using your opposite hand. We'll be moving into plank pose, and then moving from there into the inversion of downward dog. What I want us to be mindful of today is the stance of the hands and the feet are similar. They don't really change much between the two places. So to set up for that, I'll take the blanket away. I'll invite you to do the same. We'll come into our tabletop alignment again. Draw your hands slightly forward. So now you'll see an angle to the arms, the shoulders behind the wrist, having that hasta energy, so spreading the fingers wide, moving into each finger mound, which is at the base of each finger, spreading out through the fingertips. From here, I'm going to take myself up into plank. So step a leg back, take the opposite leg back, and our goal is to be as straight as a board as best we can. The modification is to simply bring your knees to the mat. So in Plankasana, lengthen out through the crown of the head, extend actively through your fingers, broaden the space between your collarbones, and feel the slight tilt of the pelvis drawing the buttocks towards the heels. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, take your hips back. So now we're stretching back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Still feeling that hasta energy of the hands, lengthening out through the fingertips, drawing the shoulders strongly away from the wrist, lengthening the back body. Encourage the thigh bones to move back to feel a nice stretch for your hamstring muscles. A few more breaths here, if that's available. Puppy pose we did earlier, that's your modification if you need. And come on down, knees wide, taking a child's pose. And then coming back to center. We will be on our knees for this bit, so let's have our blanket back in for padding. Coming into a tabletop alignment. Again, knees are hip space, hands shoulder space. Guide your leg back, and in this case, taking your right leg back, your toes are to the floor. Keep your gaze between your hands. We call that a dristi in our yoga practice. And then lift your back foot up. Try your best to keep your hip and your toes pointing down to the floor, and don't let the leg go higher than hip level. From here, take the opposite arm forward to get a little challenge. This is balancing table. Keep the belly drawing in and up as you lengthen out through your fingers, out through the bottom of your foot. Guide it back to table pose. Second side. Taking the left leg back, feel the stretch of those calf muscles here. Grounded energy through your hands. Lift your back leg, pull the belly in. Take the opposite arm forward, palm faces center. A few more breaths here. Beautiful. Bring it back into table pose. A nice option from table, I'm going to show from this side, is to take your hands, rotate them out a bit to the sides. So now the fingers face away. And from here, we're going to work with a little bit of movement for the hips to get the IT band, which runs from your outer hip to your outer knee. So from table pose, a modification of the hands. It's okay if the hands have to be rotated forward a bit. So take a breath in. As you exhale, slide the hips to one side. We'll go over to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, slide to the left. Coming back to center. As I do this stretch, over again to the right, you might want to hang out for a few extra breaths. It really hits this nice stretch along the outer hip. back to center, and then head to the second side. And coming back to center. Wonderful. So from here, we'll have our blocks. The setting of the blocks is going to be mid-level. This is something you should feel free to modify based on the length of your arms. We'll keep our blanket here in place for our knees. From here, hands to the blocks, knees on your blanket. Step your right foot forward, and then take the block that's under the right hand, place it inside the right big toe. Wiggle your right foot a little bit to the side. Allow the pelvis to drop nice and low. This is a variation of lizard pose, which is a really nice stretch. Now to get into the hip a bit more, take the block that's under the left hand, step it closer in, and take your right hand to the right leg, and just invite a little stretch here. I'm not forcing my knee beyond what feels comfortable. Bring it back in. Now take the blocks up to their higher setting. Take the forearm on the outer side down. Inner forearm comes down. Hands in prayer. Knee over ankle. Let the pelvis drop. Bow your head. And come on out. Space the blocks back to where we started. And then taking the right leg back. Second side, stepping your left foot forward, inviting that right knee to draw back a bit here. Take the block that's under the left hand, bring it inside the big toe as you wiggle that left foot a bit to the side. Again, higher elevation here is really wonderful to get into the hip flexors of this leg. From here, honor the stretch you're receiving, or take a little stretch to the side. Always working in a range of motion that feels safe and available. Draw the knee back to parallel alignment. Outer forearm comes down, inner forearm down, drop your head. Encouraging the knee that's in the front here, close to the shoulder. Another breath here. Lifting the head, bringing your hands back to your blocks, getting nice and tall on the torso, inviting the foot back to center. Coming out, blocks out of the way, and coming into Vajrasana if that's available. Feel free to change the pattern of your legs if you need. Absolutely fine. From here, we'll take our blocks out of the way. We'll take our blanket open, one more fold. So we move from shoulder stand fold to what we call half fold, so this longer fold here. And that will run the length of the mat. From here, I'll have my bolster. I'm going to show both sides, but I'm going to start with the bolster on this side. And it runs the length of the mat as well. We'll come to our back body. And if you note, I've taken care that I have the blanket along the entire length of my spine, but I do have the cervical spine off the mat. Again, I have the flat surface for my skull so that everything stays stable through this area. Your hands will start down by your hips, your feet are hip space. Invite the feet in a little bit closer and take an ankle to the opposite thigh. So I have the outer leg that's facing you and a bent leg pattern, and I have my ankle over here, which is kind of nice. You can encourage a good stretch here just by rotating this hip. If you want a little bit more, draw the legs in towards you. You can capture the leg by bringing the arm through the window of your legs. Opposite hand from here comes into the hold. Feels really nice. We have tight hips from sitting a lot in our culture, so this is a great pose to help you. Keep your neck nice and long, so don't allow the chin to jut up. If it's going on, you can bring a blanket under your head if you need. From here, I'll keep my legs in this figure four formation and lower them over to the bolster. So the bottom leg is supported by the bolster. My top leg is still in this bent leg pattern, but there's a few options I can work with here. Opposite arm reaches off to the side. This hand can invite a little bit more of a stretch through the glutes, the piriformis muscle, and the outer hip. So a good open hip stretch with support, which is kind of nice. I can release that and invite the knee away from the body, always using the wisdom of what the knee needs to keep me nice and safe. To exit, Pull the low belly muscles in strongly and lift the legs back into the start position. Release your feet to the floor. Take a wider stance with the feet. Very mindfully, take your bolster, place it across your belly. Have your hands to the outer edges and pull gently down. What's nice about the tactile information of weight to the front body is it corresponds in the back body to allow those muscles to release and relax. Let's set up for the second side. So I'll take the bolster and place it again, running the length of the mat off the opposite side of my hip here. From here, bring the feet a little closer in, taking the ankle to the thigh, allowing first the opening to happen at its own pace. So you can stay with this practice right here, inviting this knee to go in a diagonal stretch off to the side. If you'll note, this top foot stays flexed energetically, which encourages the supportive tendons and ligaments around the knee to keep your knee in a nice, safe place. Going deeper in the stretch if you choose, lift your bottom foot from the floor, and then we're going to take the arms into the equation. One arm through the window of the legs, the opposite arm coming from the outside. Again, flex pattern for the feet. Relax your shoulders down. Make sure the back of the neck stays nice and long here. A few more breaths in Sukrandasana, one of the great hip openings we offer in our yoga practice. From here, keep your legs in the figure four formation. Release your arms to the side and gently guide your legs over to the bolster. Adjust so you can feel the bottom leg totally supported here. And as I mentioned, there's options. Stay with this pattern, feel the great stretch. Otherwise, take this hand outside of the knee and pull the knee a little closer in towards the torso. Again, we're getting into those glutes, piriformis muscle, those external rotators that hold our hip in the socket, thank goodness. But they can get very tight because they're strong muscles by their own right. You may encourage the knee to drift away. If you notice, I'm not pushing the knee to get there. I'm just using the wisdom of these strong muscles in the quadricep to encourage an opening here, but never forcing beyond what feels available. We only have two knees. Let's keep them nice and safe. One more breath here. Engage the belly muscles. Lift the legs back to the start position. Touch the foot down, releasing the top leg out. Again, to encourage some release for the lower back, draw the bolster across your belly. Have your hands to the edges, pull down gently, and release. Sometimes the best part of the yoga pose is coming out of it and feeling the effects that come from the opening that we just experienced. And then allowing ourselves to come back to neutral. So after some of the work we've done, I like to encourage a nice supported Shavasana. Shavasana is one of the most important poses we can do in our practice. It helps us file away the information from the practice and allows our bodies to store the muscle memory so that when we come back to our mat the next time, there's information to draw from. So if you notice, I placed the bolster behind my knees and it encourages a soft bend, the feet release to the floor. And with the support behind the knees, it allows the pelvis to release into a nice neutral pattern. I still have the support of the blanket under my spine, and if I need additional support, I could bring a secondary blanket here. I feel pretty good with my neck today, so I'm going to leave things as is. In Shavasana, our goal is to allow the earth to receive the weight of our bodies. So a lot of times we might find that we're guarding or holding or tensing some muscles somewhere, be it in the jaw, around the shoulders, sometimes gripping in our belly. Let that go. This is our opportunity to melt to the floor, to tune into the breath, and feel the energy of the pull of gravity helping us release. As you pause here, you'll feel the rise of your belly gently coming up with a breath in. As the belly drops back to the floor, the exhale comes. So have this awareness here for this next moment. Slow, steady inhalation. Soft, quiet exhalation. We'll be here for a few more breaths. And when we're bringing our bodies out of this quiet space, first start by a gentle movement, moving your fingers and your toes, maybe rotating your ankles and wrist a little bit. One by one, take your legs to a bent pattern. You can step your feet on top of the bolster, gently rock your legs a little side to side. And then taking a moment to turn to a side. Allow the bottom arm to support your skull, your top hands in front. Pausing here. Use your arms as a support system to bring yourself up. Let's have a seat on our blanket. Note the cross of your shins in Sukhasana. We tend to be creatures of habit. I know I am. So I'm going to switch that cross. Taking a moment to ground through the lower body. Feel the length of your spine. Rest your hands to your legs. Feel the transition from a supine pose to a seated variation. Guide your hands again into Anjali Mudra, hands in front of your heart. Bring your focus back to the intention you started with. I honor each of you. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste. Thank you for your time today. Again, if you would follow us on Traveling Yogis International on Instagram, you can learn more about me and my partner, Martha Garrett, and the beautiful yoga retreats we offer. Namaste.